Follow Tu Diep in episode 28, where love becomes the driving force, courage lights the way, and trust must overcome the darkest schemes. Tap continue watching so you don't miss a single moment of this fateful rescue. After a mysterious wrong number call, gruff and unfamiliar, coming through James's phone, Tu Diep couldn't shake her unease. She hadn't caught exactly what was said, but her instincts screamed that something wasn't right. Early the next morning, she rushed to the lumberyard to find Tuan. When she saw him checking inventory, she hurried over and poured out everything, her confusion, her worry, the strange call. Tuan frowned thoughtfully, then tried to reassure her. It's probably nothing. James is wealthy and well-connected around here. No one would dare mess with him. It was likely just a random call. But Tu Diep's eyes still reflected deep concern. She clenched her fists and softly shook her head. I just can't shake this feeling. Seeing her so distressed, Tuan hesitated, then nodded. All right. I'll take you to look for James. They returned to the wood distribution site, where James had gone the day before to investigate some tampered lumber. The site manager confirmed that James had been there, but said he left early complaining of stomach pain. No one had seen him since. No calls, no messages, nothing. On their way back, just as the truck rounded a small incline, Tu Diep suddenly shouted, "Stop the car!" She leapt out and ran to the roadside where a lone grey slipper lay beneath a tree. Picking it up, she stared at it, stunned. This looks like James. Tuan stepped beside her and examined it. I've never seen him wear this kind before. Might just belong to someone else. But Tu Diep couldn't take her eyes off the slipper. A strange, cold ache settled in her chest, like a pin silently pricking at her heart, sharp, icy, unsettling. On the ride home, Tuan kept his eyes on the road. If anything new comes up, call me, even if it seems small. Tu Diep nodded, grateful, but her thoughts drifted. The anxiety in her heart refused to fade. Unable to sit still, she decided to visit Tung, someone who had once helped James, but Tung only shook his head. I haven't heard from him either. He's probably tied up with work at the company. Try not to worry. Tu Diep left quietly. Under the pale midday sun, she walked in silence, telling herself maybe it was because she was poor. Maybe that's why no one believed her. A faint breeze swept past, carrying the scent of decaying wood and ash from an old stove. The familiar smells clung to her shirt, stirring a strange emptiness inside. She passed the red dirt path that led to her small home, the very place where James used to wait for her, used to smile. Now, it all felt distant, like a dream that slipped away. All she had left was a flicker of hope. Fragile, fading, but still enough to keep her moving forward. After much hesitation, Tu Diep decided to report James missing at the police station, but the officer on duty gently shook his head. It hasn't been 24 hours. There's no clear evidence, and you're not legally family. His words, calm but final, struck her like a blow to the chest. She returned to her little shack, the wind rustling through the trees now strangely silent. But as she stepped into the yard, a black car pulled up at the gate. James's father, stern and distant, stepped out, his eyes dark with worry. Have you seen James? He asked bluntly. I've been calling him non-stop. He's been missing since yesterday. Tu Diep's body tensed. She quickly recounted everything. The odd phone call, the slipper on the roadside, her growing sense of dread. But, as she finished, his gaze narrowed with suspicion. What are you playing at? He snapped. Did you two plan this? Are you trying to run off together? Her breath caught. The sting of disbelief cut deeper than any words. Just then, his phone rang. A stranger's voice echoed through the receiver. We have your son. Want him alive? Transfer ownership of the entire company. His face drained of color. Hands trembling, he clutched the phone tighter. All doubt vanished. Let me come with you, Tu Diep said firmly. I'll do whatever it takes to bring James back safely. Though still wary, something in her eyes, so unwavering, so raw, made him nod. They sped off. This time, James's father made a real emergency call to the police, giving them the location and time of the drop-off with the kidnapper. The truck roared up the dusty mountain road, carrying two people. One, a father who had just learned the fear of losing his son. The other, a young woman, ready to risk everything for the man she loved. In an abandoned cabin hidden in the hills, James was bound tight, but his eyes remained alert and calm. His composure unsettled one of Duck's men. "Hey, isn't he James? The owner of that famous lumber company in town?" the man whispered, his voice shaking. "If we grabbed someone like him by mistake, we're screwed." Duke's face paled. He looked closely at James, slowly recognizing the face he'd seen on news reports. With a scowl, he gestured for his men to release him. "If I'd known who you were, I wouldn't have done something this stupid." James nodded slightly, his voice steady. "I'm not angry, but if you really want to make this right, help me finish this act. Let's bring down John." Duke's face turned serious. A long pause, then he nodded. Meanwhile, John became suspicious when local police swarmed James's father's house. He suddenly changed the meetup location and texted, "You want your son? Come alone. Bring the company documents." James's father and the police rushed to the new spot, but it was empty. Not a single trace, just silence, broken twigs, and tension thick in the air. "I'll handle this myself," he told Tudip. "You should go home, stay out of it." She said nothing, just lowered her head and walked away, but her heart was far from still. Back at her place, she tried to cook a simple meal, but her hands moved on their own. Haki, her loyal dog, sat quietly beside her, sensing her unease. She gently ran her fingers through his soft white fur. "I hope you're okay. Please be okay." Her voice trembled. The fire's flicker danced in her eyes, glossed with tears. Outside, the wind whispered through the forest, carrying a chill too heavy to name. That night, unable to wait, Diep threw on an old sweater and made her way to James's house. She sat on the porch, eyes fixed on the darkened road. No one came. Not a single sound. But she waited. All through the night, only the soft yellow light and the wind murmured across the wooden beams. Echoes of a heart that refused to give up. Time faded away, replaced only by a fragile hope that he would come back, safe. James's father sat in silence in his study, his eyes lingering on an old family photo. Deep lines etched across his face spoke of years of burdens shouldered alone. He whispered, as if to himself, a quiet promise. "Son, I won't let anything happen to you." He grabbed the stack of company transfer papers, his hands trembling, let out a long sigh and headed for the door. Outside the house, Tudip was curled up by the front gate, her eyes red from sleeplessness. As soon as she saw him, she jumped to her feet, desperation in her voice. "Please, sir, have you heard anything about James? Is he okay?" For a brief second, the older man's expression softened, but it quickly hardened again. "This is a family matter. Go home." His voice was cold as he climbed into his pickup truck and slammed the door shut. But Tudip couldn't stand idly by. Her heart screamed that something was wrong. As the truck rumbled down the road, she sprinted forward, slipping behind it, crouching near the back bed, hidden from view. Determined to follow, danger be damned. Deep in the forest, at the agreed-upon meeting spot, John sat waiting, eyes calm, face expressionless. He had no idea that James had already been released by Duke and was secretly working with the police to take him down. James's father arrived and was greeted by Tuan, acting as the intermediary. The air crackled with tension. Without hesitation, James's father signed over the entire company. Not far away, Tudip hid behind a massive tree trunk, hands shaking as she called Tuan. "I'm in the forest. I found where James was held. Bring the police now." After signing, James's father looked up, voice firm but anxious. "Where's my son? I want to see him." John smiled coolly. "Just follow that path over there. You'll find him." Without suspecting a thing, James's father nodded and began walking in the direction John pointed. But danger lurked just behind. One of John's men silently crept up behind him, gripping a heavy wooden club, his eyes glinting with malice. The moment the club swung, "Sir!" Tudip burst from hiding, throwing herself in front of the older man. Thud. The blow landed hard. She collapsed instantly, unconscious. A sharp burst of sirens shattered the silence. Police officers flooded the area, surrounding John and his men before they had time to react. The gang was subdued on the spot. John's face turned ghostly pale. No trace of his usual arrogance remained. James arrived just seconds later. The moment he saw Tu Diep lying motionless, he ran to her and cradled her in his arms, panic in his voice. "Tu Diep, are you okay? Please say something." Without waiting, he lifted her and rushed toward the ambulance, his world reduced to this one moment. Nothing else, no paperwork, no power, no enemies, mattered anymore. In that instant, everything cracked open. Love, loyalty, sacrifice, proven not with words, but with blood, tears, and the desperate beat of a heart that truly loved. James carried Tu Diep out of the woods, his heart tangled in worry. The road back felt endless, each step weighted by fear. As soon as they arrived home, he called a doctor. Tu Diep lay still, breathing faintly, her face pale as porcelain. James never looked away, terrified she might slip away if he blinked. The doctor arrived 30 minutes later, examined her thoroughly and finally offered some relief. "She has no internal injuries, just bruises. She'll wake up in a few days with rest." James thanked him, but the heaviness in his chest didn't lift. He turned to his father, his gaze hard. All of this, did it come from your feud with John's family?" His father was silent for a moment, then spoke softly. "It's a misunderstanding. I never hurt anyone in John's family." But he refused to believe that. James clenched his fists, struggling to keep calm. "If anything happens to Tu Diep, I'll never forgive you." Without waiting for a reply, he walked out, heading into the kitchen to make porridge for her. He placed the bowl gently on the bedside table, then sat down beside her, holding her hand in his. His voice barely a whisper. "You need to wake up. I haven't even told you how much I need you." Later, fearing she'd be overwhelmed by mess or noise when she opened her eyes, James returned to the farm. Beneath the grapefruit tree, he fed the chickens and cleaned out Hackie's pen. The little dog bounded toward him, tail wagging joyfully. James smiled faintly, gently patting Hackie's head, but his eyes remained distant. As the sun began to set, he returned to the house. Tu Diep was still unconscious. James sat beside her, worry carved deep into his face. He leaned closer, his voice trembling as he whispered, "If you don't wake up, I don't know how I'm supposed to go on."
Đến câu trả lời đầy bất ngờ và dây dứt. Buổi sáng tại trang trại nhỏ, Diệp thức dậy sớm hơn thường lệ. Cô đứng bên khung cửa sổ cũ kỹ, nhìn ra khu vườn rau xanh mướt đầy dần nảy mầm, lòng chợt dần lên cảm giác bình yên hiếm hoi. Nhưng sự bình yên nhanh chóng bị xáo trộn khi cô nhìn thấy Giang, người đàn ông với nụ cười ấm áp đã làm trái tim cô rung động. Cô nhận ra mình yêu anh, không phải từ hôm qua mà từ rất lâu, có lẽ từ khoảnh khắc đứng trước cô, bảo vệ cô khỏi sự tàn nhẫn của bao những ngày, khi cảm giác ngọt ngào ấy len lỏi trong vào lòng. Nỗi tự ti lại trỗi dậy như một con sóng dữ. Mình là ai mà dám yêu anh ấy? Một người phụ nữ nghèo khổ, từng bị chồng bỏ rơi, không cha không mẹ, mình không xứng đáng. Cô tự nhủ, đôi mắt mờ đi vì những giọt nước mắt kìm nén. Diệp bước chân ra, đôi tay gầy guộc ôm lấy mình để xua đi cái lạnh của cơn gió sớm.